Just a magnificent looking animal. It was only 3 meters long. It didn't have a mark on it. And gave us an opportunity to tag it. And he placed his tag.
A 9-foot great white shark vanished in seconds, and the data proving what happened shocked marine scientists. This wasn't a missing shark, it wasn't a failed tracking tag. It was a confirmed predation event involving one of the ocean's most feared predators being swallowed whole. The satellite tag attached to the shark recorded something impossible. In a single moment, the water temperature jumped from freezing cold to body warm heat, while the depth reading plunged nearly 2,000 feet into the deep ocean. That combination should not exist in nature, but it did, and it meant the tag and the shark were inside something alive. Great white sharks are apex predators. They hunt seals, dominate coastlines, and have no natural enemies we're supposed to know about. Yet this one was overpowered instantly, dragged into the abyss, and digested in total darkness. No bite marks, no remains, just numbers telling a story scientists never expected to see. So what could kill a fully grown great white shark? Orcas? Deep sea giants? Something extinct? Or something far more disturbing? A predator hiding in plain sight. As researchers pieced together the data, one terrifying truth emerged. The ocean's food chain doesn't end where we thought it did. Shark Alpha wasn't a juvenile drifting through dangerous waters. She was a fully developed great white, measuring just over 9 feet from nose to tail. In shark terms, that made her a powerful teenager entering her prime, big enough to hunt confident, fast enough to escape most threats, experienced enough to avoid unnecessary risks. There was no reason she should have been vulnerable. When researchers first encountered her, they were struck by how pristine she was. No scars, no damaged fins, no signs of previous encounters with larger predators. She was the picture of a healthy apex hunter, moving effortlessly through cold offshore waters where great whites have ruled for millions of years. This wasn't a shark on the edge of survival. This was one that should have been winning. The team carefully attached a state-of-the-art satellite tracking tag to her dorsal fin. It wasn't just designed to show location. This device recorded depth, light levels, and water temperature every single minute. It could withstand crushing pressure and corrosive salt, surviving conditions that would destroy most electronics. Scientists often describe these tags as black boxes for sharks, silent witnesses that record everything until something goes wrong. For months, nothing did. The data came in exactly as expected. Shark Alpha moved along the continental shelf, diving, hunting, resting, and patrolling her territory like countless great whites before her. The readings were predictable, almost boring, and in marine science, boring data usually means success. Then, without warning, the pattern stopped making sense. The moment everything changed, there was no buildup, no warning signs. 1 minute, Shark Alpha was swimming at a steady depth in cold, dark water where great whites are perfectly at home. The temperature reading hovered around 46 degrees, normal. The depth line was flat, stable, nothing unusual. Then, the data spiked. In a single instant, the temperature shot upward, not gradually, not over minutes or hours. It jumped fast, climbing more than 30 degrees in seconds. Water that cold does not behave that way. There are no natural conditions in the open ocean where temperature shifts like that can happen without catastrophic forces at play. At the exact same moment, the depth sensor went wild. The shark didn't sink, she was full. The tag registered a violent plunge, dragging her nearly 2,000 feet straight down toward the ocean floor. This wasn't a controlled dive, it was a forced descent, steep and fast, as if something far stronger had seized her and disappeared into the dark. After that, the data stopped behaving like ocean data at all. For days, the tag continued recording movement, but everything else stayed the same. Total darkness, constant pressure, and an internal temperature locked at 78 degrees. Warm, stable, and impossible for deep ocean water. That was the moment scientists realized the truth. The tag wasn't in the ocean anymore. It was inside something alive. And whatever had taken Shark Alpha hadn't struggled, hadn't hesitated, and hadn't left a trace behind. But that discovery only raised a more disturbing question. If a 9-foot great white could be taken this easily, what kind of predator was capable of doing it? For weeks after the signal vanished, there was nothing. No movement, no final location, just silence. Then, unexpectedly, the tracking tag resurfaced, not drifting across the open ocean, not carried away by currents, but washed up on a shoreline less than 3 miles from where Shark Alpha had first been tagged. That That detail alone unsettled the research team. When satellite tags detach naturally, they usually travel far, sometimes dozens, even hundreds of miles. For this one to return so close to its starting point suggested something deliberate, as if the ocean itself was giving the device back. When a researcher walked down the beach and picked it up, the tag looked wrong. The plastic casing was faded and worn, as though it had been chemically stripped. The surface showed signs of abrasion, not from rocks or sand, but from prolonged exposure to something corrosive. It didn't look like equipment that had simply fallen off a shark. It looked like something that had been processed. Back in the lab, the team downloaded the stored data. As the graphs formed on the screen, the room went quiet. The timeline confirmed everything the satellite transmission had hinted at: the sudden heat spike, the violent lunge, and then days of steady movement in complete darkness, all at the same internal temperature. There was no malfunction, no corrupted file. The tag had done exactly what it was designed to do. It had recorded the final moments of a great white shark and the movements of whatever consumed her afterward. What the scientists were looking at wasn't just tracking data anymore. It was evidence, and now they had to figure out which ocean predator was capable of turning a top-tier hunter into a meal and leaving almost nothing behind. When the story first reached the public, one suspect immediately dominated the conversation: orcas, killer whales, the only animals in the ocean with a proven history of hunting great white sharks. At first glance, the theory made perfect sense. Orcas are intelligent, coordinated, and ruthless when they hunt. In recent years, their clashes with great whites have been documented in chilling detail. Entire shark populations have abandoned coastlines after orcas arrived, leaving once active hunting grounds completely empty. Researchers pointed to well-known cases where pairs of orcas learned how to disable sharks with frightening efficiency. They would ram them, flip them upside down, and send them into a paralyzed state known as tonic immobility. Once the shark was helpless, the orcas would bite near the fins and extract the liver, the most energy-rich organ in the body, and leave the rest behind. It sounded exactly like the kind of predator capable of killing shark alpha. Orcas were certainly big enough. A fully grown male can weigh more than 10 tons. Swallowing a tracking tag wouldn't be a problem, but when scientists compared the orca theory to the actual data, the explanation began to fall apart. The first problem was temperature. The tag recorded a steady 78 degrees after the attack. Orcas are mammals, warm-blooded, just like humans. Their internal body temperature is far higher, typically close to 100 degrees. If an orca had swallowed the tag, the temperature reading would have been much hotter. 78 degrees simply didn't match. The second issue was behavior. Orcas don't swallow sharks whole. They are selective hunters, precision feeders. They remove the liver and discard the rest of the body. But the data from Shark Alpha showed the tag remained inside a digestive tract for days. That wasn't surgical feeding, it was full consumption. Then there was the dive. After the attack, the tag was pulled nearly 2,000 feet straight down. Orcas can dive deep, but they still need air. They must surface to breathe. A sustained plunge, followed by days spent at depth, just didn't align with their biology. Finally, the surrounding sharks didn't react. When orcas move into an area, great whites flee. Entire regions go silent. But after Shark Alpha disappeared, nothing changed. Other sharks continued hunting, patrolling, and behaving normally, as if nothing unusual had occurred. The evidence was clear. Whatever killed Shark Alpha wasn't an invading super predator. It was something that blended in, something that didn't disrupt the balance, because it was already part of it. And that realization forced scientists to look deeper, toward a far darker possibility. With orcas ruled out, attention shifted to the location itself. Shark Alpha had vanished near the edge of the continental shelf, close to a massive underwater formation known as Bremer Canyon. It's a place where the seafloor collapses into darkness, dropping thousands of feet in a short distance. These deep water canyons are magnets for life, and for predators that rarely come into view. Some of the ocean's strangest creatures are known to hunt there. Giant squid, colossal squid, animals so elusive that most of what we know about them come from scars left on whales. The idea was tempting. A massive squid rising from the abyss, wrapping its hooked tentacles around a great white and dragging it down into the crushing depths fit the violent plunge recorded by the tag almost perfectly. Squid are powerful. They've been known to battle sperm whales, animals far larger than sharks. Their suckers are lined with sharp, rotating hooks capable of tearing flesh. If any creature could pull a great white into the deep, it would be something like that. But once again, the data refused to cooperate. Squid are cold-blooded. Their internal temperature matches the surrounding water. If a squid had consumed the tag, the temperature reading would have stayed locked at 46 degrees. It would not spike. It could not spike. The 78-degree reading instantly ruled them out. That left the most popular theory of all, the one that never seems to die: Megalodon. The idea of a prehistoric shark still lurking in the deep ocean has captivated the internet for years. A 60-foot predator with jaws wide enough to swallow a car would have no trouble taking a 9-foot great white. Some speculated that a hidden population survived extinction by retreating into unexplored depths, places just like Bremer Canyon. On the surface, it seemed to explain everything: size, power, speed, even the sudden ambush. But science doesn't work on spectacle, it works on evidence, and there is none. No fresh bite marks on whales, no modern teeth, no sonar images. A predator that large would reshape the ecosystem around it. It wouldn't stay invisible. Relying on a myth to explain real data wasn't an option. The answer had to be something alive today, something we already know exists, something capable of producing heat, diving deep, and swallowing large prey without announcing its presence. And that meant the investigation had reached its most unsettling phase, because the clues weren't pointing towards something unknown. They were pointing towards something uncomfortably familiar. The breakthrough came when researchers stopped asking what kind of monster could have done this and started asking a simpler question: what kind of animal in the ocean can maintain a stomach temperature of 78 degrees while swimming in water barely above freezing? The answer was hiding in plain sight. Most fish are cold-blooded. Their body temperature rises and falls with the surrounding water. In deep, icy ocean layers, they slow down, their reactions dull. But great white sharks are different. Along with a small group of elite hunters like mako sharks and tuna, they possess a rare biological advantage. It's called regional endothermy. Inside a great white's body is a dense network of blood vessels known as the rete mirabilis, sometimes called the wonderful net. This system captures heat generated by powerful swimming muscles and recycles it instead of letting it escape through the gills. The result is a shark that can keep its brain, eyes, and core significantly warmer than the water around it. That warmth isn't just about speed or strength. It plays a critical role in digestion. A warm stomach breaks down food faster and more efficiently, especially after consuming large prey. When scientists compared the tag's temperature data to known measurements, the match was exact. A digesting great white maintains an internal temperature right around 78 degrees. Suddenly, the impossible spike made sense. The heat wasn't an anomaly, it was a biological signature. The death plunge made sense too. After a massive meal, great whites often dive deep into colder layers to regulate their body temperature while digesting. What looked like a violent descent was likely a powerful predator, retreating into the darkness to process its kill. Even the lack of panic among nearby sharks fit the pattern. This wasn't a foreign invader disrupting the ecosystem. It was a local, a member of the same species, one that didn't change the balance because it was already part of it. The realization was chilling. Shark Alpha hadn't been killed by something unknown. She had been eaten by another great white shark. But that answer only raised a far more terrifying question. How big would a great white have to be to make a 9-foot predator disappear that fast? Cannibalism might sound extreme, but in the shark world, it's routine. From the very beginning of their lives, sharks are locked into a brutal hierarchy where size determines survival. In some species, the strongest embryos develop teeth inside the womb and eliminate their siblings before birth. Only one survives. The pattern never stops. In open water, larger sharks eat smaller sharks without hesitation. Bull sharks do it, tiger sharks do it, and great whites do it too. It isn't aggression, it isn't territorial rage, it's efficiency. A shark doesn't see another shark as competition, it sees calories. What makes Shark Alpha's disappearance so disturbing isn't the cannibalism itself, it's the speed. The data shows no prolonged struggle, no erratic movement, no gradual temperature rise. The spike was immediate. That means the attack wasn't a fight, it was an ambush so overwhelming that resistance barely registered. For the tag to enter the stomach that quickly, the predator had to be enormous. A shark can't swallow something close to its own size without tearing it apart first. This wasn't a slow feeding event, it was a single decisive strike, likely from below where great whites attack with maximum force. Scientists began estimating the size required to pull that off. Their conservative calculations placed the predator at around 16 feet long, weighing over 4,000 pounds. That alone would make it one of the largest great white sharks ever recorded, but many experts believe even that number is low. To ambush and consume a healthy 9-foot shark so easily, the attacker may have been significantly larger, pushing 20 feet in length and weighing close to to 6,000 pounds. At that size, a great white isn't just a predator, it's a moving wall of muscle and teeth. This wasn't a young shark looking for a risky meal. It was a veteran, an apex among apex predators, one that had likely survived for decades, growing larger with every successful hunt. And if sharks like this exist, it changes how we see the ocean entirely, because this wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning of something far more unsettling.
A great white that large doesn't live the way we usually imagine sharks. It doesn't patrol beaches or chase seals near the surface. Giants like this operate on a different level entirely. They move through deep water, along the edges of continental shelves and submerged canyons, places where sunlight barely reaches and human eyes almost never follow. These massive sharks are deep water specialists. They feed on the largest prey available: whales, large squid, and other sharks. Meals that provide enough energy to support decades of growth. Over time, that kind of diet creates something fundamentally different from the great whites we see in documentaries. Slower, smarter, more selective. That may explain why encounters with sharks of this size are so rare. They aren't avoiding us by accident. They simply have no reason to come near the surface. The ocean's deepest hunting grounds provide everything they need, and staying hidden keeps them alive longer. What happened to shark alpha suggests an entire tier of predators most people never think about. Not a new species, not a mutation, just older, larger, and more experienced great whites that have outgrown the coastal lifestyle. Sharks that don't need to rush. Sharks that don't miss. It also explains why the attack left no ripple in the ecosystem. No mass panic, no sudden disappearance of other sharks. This wasn't an invasion. It was business as usual, carried out by a ruler that doesn't announce itself. Shark Alpha didn't wander into a random danger zone. She crossed an invisible boundary, one that separates hunters from the hunted. And once that line is crossed, size is the only thing that matters. The ocean didn't reveal a new monster that day. It reminded us of an old rule we tend to forget: there is always something bigger.
The attack on Shark Alpha forced scientists to rethink what they thought they knew about great white sharks. The super predator wasn't a myth. It wasn't a creature from a lost era. It was one of their own, a massive, fully grown great white that had mastered the depths. The size alone was enough to inspire fear. 6,000 pounds of muscle and teeth, moving through dark water at incredible speed. A shark large enough to swallow a 9-foot predator whole, yet agile enough to ambush it without warning. This was evolution at its most terrifying. A hunter so perfectly adapted to its environment that it could strike from below, take what it wanted, and vanish into the abyss, leaving nothing behind. The Bremer Canyon, with its crushing pressures and hidden crevices, became more than a hunting ground. It became a playground for a class of predator humans rarely witness. These giant great whites are cautious, patient, and deliberate. They don't waste energy on small prey, and they rarely reveal themselves. Every sighting is a lucky glimpse at a creature that otherwise rules in silence. Shark Alpha wasn't just another meal. She was a reminder of the hierarchy that governs the ocean. Apex predator meet apex predator. The data, the dive, the temperature spike, all of it fit a single horrifying conclusion. The ocean's most feared hunter fears only one thing: a bigger, stronger version of itself. And the most chilling part? That predator is likely still out there, moving silently through the shadows, watching, hunting, waiting. We've glimpsed the top of the oceanic food chain, and it doesn't include humans. It doesn't even include the sharks we think we understand. It includes giants that live by their own rules, far below the surface, where the sun never reaches and the laws of survival are absent. Even after everything the scientists discovered, one question remained: just how large can these deep water great whites get? Shark Alpha's killer wasn't just bigger, it was in a league of its own. Conservative estimates put it at 16 feet long, but the physics of the attack suggest it could have been closer to 20 feet. A living submarine weighing nearly 6,000 pounds, with a mouth large enough to engulf a small car. This wasn't a shark you see leaping near boats or breaching for seals on Shark Week. This was a predator built for deep water dominance, honed over decades, feeding exclusively on the largest prey it could find. Its territory is invisible to most humans, patrolled in silence, and ruled with deadly efficiency. The implications are staggering. Sharks like this challenge everything we think we know about the ocean's hierarchy. They remind us that size and patience matter more than aggression. They prove that apex predators don't just hunt, they calculate, ambush, and dominate in ways we are only beginning to understand. Shark Alpha was a teenage predator, already formidable, already deadly, but in the presence of a true giant, she became prey. Her disappearance isn't an anomaly. It's a glimpse into a shadowy world where survival is defined by scale, strength, and stealth. A world world most of us will never see, and one that still thrives beneath the waves, 1,900 feet below the surface. The ocean is vast, but even in that vastness, the biggest rule the deepest depths, and the monster that killed Shark Alpha isn't extinct, it's just out of reach. Shark Alpha's disappearance taught scientists something chilling. The ocean isn't just home to predators, it's home to predators that most of us never see. The killer wasn't a mythical beast, a giant squid or a rogue orca. It was a larger, older, deep-water great white shark, a super predator that dominates the shadowy layers of the ocean where sunlight never reaches. This wasn't a random act of violence, it was nature following its rules. Size, strength, and stealth decide survival, and Shark Alpha had crossed paths with something far older, bigger, and more experienced than herself. A shark capable of swallowing a 9-foot predator whole is not just a creature, it's a living force of nature. The Bremer Canyon, with its hidden depths and crushing pressures, is home to giants like this, hunting quiet, growing slowly, and ruling unseen. We think we know the great white, but the truth is far more terrifying. For every shark we see near the surface, there may be one or more predators in the depths, larger, wiser, and nearly impossible to encounter. So the next time you think about the apex of the ocean, remember this: the great white shark fears only one thing, a bigger great white, and that giant is still out there, lurking in the dark, following the rules we will never fully understand. Do you think there are even larger sharks hiding in the deepest parts of the ocean? Could there be 20-foot or even bigger predators we haven't discovered yet? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep-sea mysteries and true predator stories, hit like and subscribe. The ocean has many secrets, and we're only scratching the surface.